We're going to be installing the PNW Components Coast Suspension Dropper Post with external cable routing. Start by uninstalling your current seat post and saddle. Insert the dropper post into the seat tube, making sure that it's pointed in the correct orientation. The product logo and height measurement line should be on the back side of the post. Set your dropper to your desired height and tighten the seat collar bolt until it holds the dropper post in place. It's important to follow your frame manufacturer's recommended torque setting for the seat collar, as this varies between manufacturers. Install your saddle into the saddle clamp by loosening the bolts just enough to create an opening for the saddle rails to slide into place. Make sure both saddle rails are securely in the round grooves on the top and bottom portions of the saddle clamp. Slide the saddle to your desired placement and tighten the bolts until they are secure using a 5mm Allen wrench. First, you'll be placing the new lever clamp around the handlebar and hand tightening so it stays in place during install. There's no need to tighten all the way, as you'll be making position adjustments later. Starting at the post, install the cable housing with cable end into the post and run it to the front of the bike. Secure the cable housing using your frame's cable holders or strap them to the frame if none exist. Before trimming the cables to proper length, make sure that the inner wire hasn't been installed yet. Using your fingers, pull the cable end off of the housing. Use your fingers to hold the cable in place where the cable will be installed into the lever while pulling the excess slack through the other side. Turn the bars 90 degrees to verify that you have just enough housing for the bars to turn, but not too much slack so that they're rattling around or can maybe get caught on something while you're riding. As they say, measure twice and cut once. Using a pair of cable cutters, cut the cables to your measured spot. Starting back at the post, slide the inner wire through the housing. Pop the dust cover off, starting at the bottom of the cover. Insert the cable end into the slotted opening of the cable carrier. Using the slot in the dust cover, slide the cable through and snap the dust cover into place, starting at the top of the dust cover and working your way back down. Slide the cable housing into the opening at the bottom of the mid cap and firmly seat it into place. Reinstall the cable end that was removed when trimming the cables at the front of the bike by sliding the inner cable through the opening and push the cable end firmly into the housing. Next, you'll be assembling the barrel nut. Please note that these can arrive as two separate parts, or sometimes the pinch bolt is already installed into the barrel nut. Thread the small pinch bolt into the barrel nut, but not so much that it blocks the hole. Using your finger, position the metal plate so that the barrel nut can slide through the hole in the lever. The metal plate is intended to guide the cable as you press the lever. Rotate the barrel nut so you can see the hole through the cable channel. You will be feeding the inner cable through this hole in a few steps. Slide the cable through the noodle and seat the cable end into the barrel adjuster. The small end of the noodle feeds into the lever body. Feed the inner cable through the hole in the barrel nut until the housing is firmly seated into the barrel adjuster. Adjust the placement of the lever to your liking and tighten into place. Using a torque wrench, tighten the clamp bolt to 2 Nm. Make sure not to over-torque the clamp, as this can damage the handlebar, which could result in personal injury or even death. Holding the cable and lever taut, use a 2mm Allen wrench to tighten the pinch bolt until it squeezes the cable. At the same time, you'll want to use a 3mm Allen on the other side of the barrel nut to hold it in place as you tighten the pinch bolt. Check to make sure the lever is firmly in place and that there are no loose parts. If there is play in the lever, twist the barrel adjuster to remove the slack in the cable, but not so much that the post is actuated. Trim the cable behind the thumb pad of the lever with cable cutters to avoid fraying the cable. Place a cable cap over the end of the cable and crimp it with pliers. Lastly, place the end of the cable behind the cable holder on the back of the lever. For the coast, use a high-pressure shock pump to add air to the suspension cartridge. You can pump it up to 300 psi without harming the cartridge. It's purely personal preference how much air to add, but as a general rule of thumb, the post shouldn't have sag when you sit on it and will only move when you're hitting larger bumps.